All right. To introduce myself, I'm Kyle Flynn. I work obviously here at Voices as a Platinum account manager, as well as the account manager for all the coaches on our site there, Melissa being one of them. So without any further ado, I'll pass it over to Melissa if you want to briefly introduce yourself, and then we'll get started.
Yeah, cool. Thank you so much, Kyle. And by the way, thank you guys for having me today. I was excited to get to hang out with everybody and just
It's our
share
pleasure.
some thoughts, share some conversational thoughts on voice acting. Um, yeah, so my name is Melissa Moats, and I have been voice acting for, gosh, I can't even believe I'm saying 21 years out loud, but that's how long I've been voice acting. And really, my deepest passion in voice acting is commercial. It's my very favorite genre. It's the majority of the work that I do as a voice actor. So it's one of my favorite topics. So I'm gonna try to shoehorn a lot of information into this time that we are sharing today. Hopefully I don't overwhelm anybody, because I'm gonna try to power through so many of my thoughts that I was hoping that would be helpful for voice actors who feel like they're struggling with this whole conversational vibe. I know I did initially when this whole idea was presented to me. I was like, so just sound real? Okay, yeah, like I can do that. But it always is a little harder than that, than just, what meets the ear, as so to speak. But I've had the pleasure over the years of being the auditory brand ambassador of a lot of household names like Ashley Furniture Home Store. I do a lot of work for Pandora Internet Radio. Jenny Craig was a client of mine for many years. So I've had the privilege of being on so many awesome campaigns for television and radio. And this word conversational comes up so much. So I'm really excited to share some of my philosophies and approaches and ideas with everybody today. So that being said, I'm going to dive right into my content. And yes, I've had a lot of coffee, so that's going to help me get through a lot of this, hopefully. And hopefully it's not too much coming at you. I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share. Okay, Kyle? All right, guys. So hopefully everybody's able to see this document. So the first thing I just want to talk about is we're going to have three parts that I'm going to cover today. And the first part is taking some time to do some copy analysis or some script analysis, really just understanding your writer and their writing style, the overall message of the script, and who it is that they're writing for. So I'm going to talk a little bit about copy analysis and script breakdown, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about different performance techniques to apply to this whole process. And then at the end, I have some sample scripts for everyone, not only to use as examples today, but they can maybe be some great practice scripts for you to use on your own time to just kind of play around with some of the ideas that I touch on today. So diving back into the writer, as a voice actor, it's really important that we honor our writer and that we really understand their message. And to me, conversational voice acting isn't a one size fits all approach, I'll say loosely, meaning that there's not just one conversational style. An analogy that I like to use a lot when I'm working with my students is to think about it in the mindset of blue jeans. So, we live in a really casual lifestyle these days, and most of us are wearing either jeans or yoga pants or leggings and, that kind of a thing. So that's why I'm using this as my analogy. So what I mean by this is there are three different commercial styles that I like to kind of operate from using this denim reference. And what I mean by that is there's what I call the holy jeans read, and that is the most laid back, the most casual version of voice acting conversationally that there is. That's where you really relax your diction, you really dirty up your diction, and you're not trying to sound, polished or clean in any way, or just just letting it all hang out. So think of when you're wearing your holy jeans and you're being your most casual self. Maybe you got your favorite concert t-shirt on that you've washed like 1,000 times. That read is just that most dialed back, unaffected performance that you can access. Then the next one is what I like to call the slightly distressed version of yourself, meaning your diction and your articulation is still casual and relaxed, but this is maybe your jeans that have one little tiny tear in the knee, but they're a little nicer. So it's the cleaned up version of yourself. You know, you're maybe wearing a nicer shirt, and you know, you're presenting yourself casually, but a little bit more polished. And then the third version of conversational in my mind with this reference is your nice jeans. You know, maybe like you're going to wear your button down shirt, you're going to go to a job interview or on a first date, and you might go as far as even ironing your jeans. I don't know. My brother lives down in Texas and he irons his jeans, and I really like to give him a hard time about it. So, you know, when you press them with the seam. So this to me is when you're doing a conversational delivery where you're still being yourself and you're still keeping it real, but you're presenting yourself in a way that maybe your diction is a little cleaner. You're presenting yourself in a way that is just a hair more polished, but there's still that casual element that's happening. So I hope that this little silly reference that I put together is helpful for you. When I'm looking at a script, I immediately will identify with either holy jeans, slightly distressed, or my more buttoned up, nice jeans appearance vocally, so to speak. So hopefully you guys dig that. Moving on to the next point is really understanding who your audience is. When you're doing a conversational delivery, we've got to really keep it real in the fact that everyone that we speak to in our life, we slightly vary how we present ourselves to them and how we communicate with them. I'm not suggesting that we're not being ourselves, but we all have different sides of ourselves that we share. So if I'm talking to a toddler, for example, my facial expressions and my body language and my tone of voice is going to be very different for a cute little kid that I'm talking to versus if I'm speaking to a teen, or if I'm speaking with a peer, or if I'm speaking to someone who's an authority figure or an elder or someone that I have a lot of respect for. So think about the way that you talk to all of the different people in your life, from your very best friend to someone you have a ton of respect for and you really admire, to, you know, kids or cool teenagers, nieces, nephews, neighbor kids. You're always going to be yourself, but the way that you approach each one of those audiences is really going to be unique. So when you're reading a voiceover script and they're asking you to be conversational, one of the things you want to identify is who it is you're talking to, and then really tapping into the facial expressions, the tone of voice, the body language that you would really, really work from and operate from if you were talking to someone in that specific, audience. So that's a really important thing that I keep in mind when I'm reading commercial conversational scripts. The next thing to point out is when we're doing a commercial, we're really only talking to one person or to a very small group. And when I'm working with talent, oftentimes, and they're struggling with the conversational delivery, oftentimes their reads are way too big. They're using way too much volume. They're using way too much enthusiasm. Everything is too loud and too big. And we have to really think about voice acting conversationally on a more intimate level, where we're just talking to one person or a couple of people over a cup of coffee, or across a dinner table, or in a real casual setting. So think about that. We're not talking to everyone in radio or TV land. We are, but we're really talking to them one person at a time. So really make sure that your performances are a real one-on-one feel when you're looking at your decision making there. The next thing I want to touch on is that most of the way that commercials are written these days are very, they're glimpses of moments in time. So yes, there's a lot of commercial copy that's very product focused, but most of the time they're very story focused. They're very much a situation in a bank, or a situation, in a coffee shop, or they're very scene oriented. So think about creating a little, scene in your mind, as a performer, and put yourself in that moment in time. And also understand what might have happened just before that little snippet or that little commercial moment in time. What's going to happen afterward? It makes it much more real for you as the voice actor, and it helps take a little bit of that pressure off of just focusing on the words that are in the script. It's just really giving yourself that freedom to picture what might be happening, and what maybe happened right before it. So, and then to help with the volume and the intimacy and keeping it with that one-on-one flavoring, one of the things that helps me a lot is really, where are you? Really picture the details in that scene. And that's going to help you identify how close you might be with another person, your audience member you're speaking with. That's going to help you figure out what kind of a volume level would make sense with your performance. Is it a more soft, pulled back, close to the mic read because you're talking right into someone's ear? Or is it someone you're talking to across the room? Because that's going to have a completely different flavor, different level of projection, and just a different overall tone and style altogether. So these are all little, script analysis things that I take into consideration before I even get on mic. And one other little side note is, whenever you're looking over a script and you're doing this copy analysis part of it, make sure that you never read a script out loud at all as practice if you're not standing right in front of your microphone, because some of the very best reads, the most magical, most off the cuff performances that you can do are in those very first 3 takes that you do. And so much magic lives and so much spontaneity lives in your very first read. So it is such a bummer when you're like sitting at your desk and you're outside of your booth and you do that amazing read, and then you try to go into your, in front of your mic and duplicate it, and you're like, it's frustrating. So make sure you've got your mic in front of you when you're playing around. Here's the next couple of things to consider. How do you want your listener to feel? That is so important. As a commercial voice actor in 2021, we're not selling just products and services and ideas. We're very much selling feelings. And we're really, brands today really want the people that they're getting the attention of to really feel a feeling and connect that warm fuzzy or that comedic feeling to their brand. So really identify what that writer is going for, and what kind of a feeling and flavor they're bringing, so that you can really know what the goal is on how we want the audience to feel. That's a big one to consider. And then this is an obvious one, but still worth mentioning. When you're looking at a commercial script, don't overlook the who, what, when, where, how, and why. Why should they buy? Who's the product? Who's the client? What are you talking about? When can they get it? Where is it available? How do you get it? How much does it cost? If any of those emphasis points live in your script you're reading in commercial, make sure you lean into them. Client name, always a really important one. We always want to highlight that client name and make it special, make it really pop in a real, just a nice way. Give it a little, I always say, highlight it with a little, vocal sparkle. give the client name some vocal sparkles. The client will very much appreciate that. And then last couple of thoughts here in this section is, you always want to respect your listener. You can highlight emphasis points when you are voice acting, but we really want to give our audience the credit that they deserve. Meaning, I sometimes hear voice actors really overemphasizing points and really overworking their copy, trying way too hard. And really, that's suggesting that the listener isn't going to get it. And guys, consumers today, they're savvy, they're smart, we're smart consumers, you know, so we get it. We don't have to overemphasize points. So just remember that you can highlight an idea or lean into an emphasis point, but you don't want to clobber the listener over the head making that point. So hopefully some of these points are helping everybody. Then the last thing I want to touch on here is just TV versus radio. It's a very important thing to know. If you are doing a commercial conversationally, you want to know if it's for television or for radio, because TV is going to have, you know, all of those visual elements that are going to come into play. And as a voice actor, our performance is a partnership with those visuals. So our reads can be a bit more subtle. When we're reading conversationally in radio, we can be a bit more animated. We can have a little more sing-song in the voice, or we can really dial up our personalities a bit more, because radio is more theater of the mind versus television. So that's the same for like internet radio. So really think about when you're doing a performance, are you going to be, you know, using visuals with your performance? Is this a television or an internet ad with visuals, or is this auditory only, theater of the mind? And that'll really help you make some of your decisions of how big you want to go with your reads. So I'm gonna jump into techniques next, and hopefully some of these are helpful for everybody. The next thing I want to touch on here is just one of the things I do all day as I'm auditioning for projects is I will craft an unscripted line or phrase that I say out loud prior to reading the actual script. So the idea here is something that you can use that will actually help you as a vocal springboard to bounce into your performance. Many coaches out there call this different things and reference this idea a lot. Some coaches I've heard call it lead-ins or a lead line, that type of an idea. But the whole overall point is coming up with something that you can say just before you get into your performance is going to really help you bounce into the read with momentum and energy, because oftentimes the very first scripted line we read without a lead in or a little unscripted line or phrase, it can sound a little stiff. It can sound a little red. It can sound a little measured or contrived. And I find doing a little bounce in something to help me, you know, get my juices flowing, my performance juices flowing is very helpful. Another thing that I do oftentimes is I'll read the first sentence 3 times in a row. So I'll just do the first sentence 3 different ways, and I just kind of play with it until it comes out in a way that feels really natural for me. So that's something I do often. Another one that I've used a lot with students is if you're ever reading a script or a commercial and you're having a hard time connecting with the message or the writer or the writer's style, sometimes just saying the script in your own words is a really helpful way to go, especially if you feel like you are sounding very ready. If your read feels like you are reading, just say out loud a few times, summarize what the writer's going for and say that out loud a few times. And that might help you just relax into the read a little bit. You could even use that as your little you know, unscripted line or phrase that you say as you work your way into the copy. Trust your gut more than the casting specs. This is a big one for me personally. Oftentimes, once I read the casting specs, I am so influenced by what they're asking for that I have a really hard time honoring my own creative process and really giving my creativity and opportunity to just play with me and work with me and just kind of get my own sense of what the writer was going for. So if I can encourage you anyway in this little section, it would be, I'm not suggesting to not consider the casting specs. What I'm saying is, first consider the script. First consider just you and that writer of that script having a little moment and reading over what they wrote and getting your own sense of it, and maybe doing 2, 3, 4 different reads, that way. Then go back and visit the casting specs and then come up with a few more reads, based on that. And that's another really good way if you want to send in 2 takes, an A and a B take. It's a really helpful way to come up with that second B read, if you would, by applying this technique that I'm sharing, because it's really hard to come up with a second way to approach an audition if you've already been influenced by the specs. So try that. It's been a huge help to me, is just trusting my gut first. Because your gut's going to guide you guys. That's why we have it. The next one is saying the casting specs out loud in first person is a way of finding your mood or attitude. I do this all the time too, because let's face it, if you're doing 20 auditions in a day and you're moving through so much different content, you might be doing your Holy Jeans vibe in one read style. The next one, you're going to do a little bit more of a buttoned up bank style read or credit union read. And then the next one is a mom read or a dad read. Excuse me. And so for me, I'll look at the specs and say, all right, I'm a mom. I'm cool. I care, but I keep it real with my kids. And then I might just improv a little and be like, don't forget your lunch, and I'll kind of just play around like that on mic, right as my little warm up before I hop right into my performance. And it just makes it more real for me. We're actors after all. So it's just kind of giving myself the improvisational moment of just saying those specs out loud, but saying them in the first person to just really help me feel the feels of who it is I am. So a couple more quick points here, guys. I'm powering through all this the best I can. There is another thing that helps a lot if you're trying to figure out a believable conversational energy, especially if you're doing a sea of auditions in a day and you start to kind of lose all perspective of energy and volume and time and space because you're looking at so much content and interpreting so much content. One of the things I like to do is if I'm feeling stuck or I'm feeling stale or I'm starting to feel like so many of my reads are kind of sounding the same or feeling the same, I'll do one read completely over the top, just ridiculously over the top. Then the second read that I'll do will be extremely pulled back, just the softest, most delicate read that I can do of that script. And then I'll do a split the diff read where it's somewhere in between. And then I'll come out and I'll listen to those 3 and get a sense of what's feeling the most realistic in that situation or for that product or service or for that particular conversational read style. It's just a really helpful tactic or strategy to try and performance technique. So last couple of thoughts. The more times you read through a script out loud, the more polished it's going to become. And that is going to really lend itself to sounding more announcery. And, we see that all the time in casting specs, looking for the non-announcer, unannouncer, not announcery, not polished, not slick. So that's why if you can just be more spontaneous and make sure you record those first 1, 2, 3 reads you do on mic, the most magic and special sauce that you bring, your authenticity, is really going to show up in those first 3 reads, way more so than on take 17 or take 25. I know some talent who will just overwork a piece of copy, and it really does lose that conversational quality of just being real and keeping it real. So keep that in mind too. You don't want to overwork your copy. And then this last point is, actually, there might be a couple more, but one of the last points is the art of nuance. What I mean by that is we all have human sound effects that we do a lot. Like, you know, we sigh, or sometimes we hesitate, or we stutter into a word. We don't speak perfectly. We also don't speak in a perfectly measured way. Sometimes when you're reading a script and you really want it to have that conversational flavor to it, one of the things you can do is you can pick the tempo up. You can slow the tempo down. You can play with volume. You can get louder, softer, depending on the context of the read. We don't speak in a very measured, even equal value way when we speak conversationally. We pause, we hesitate, we aren't perfectly polished. It is okay to stutter into a word, to give the feeling that a thought just occurred to you, right? When you're doing a performance, give that half of an extra beat more to give that audience the, you know, the indication that you're thinking, or that you're pondering a thought before you say it, stuff like that. Those are all things that add more, you know, realistic value to the read. And then how do you really express these words in real life? An exercise I do often with students is you can pick one sentence from any script, you know, any script, I don't care, one little short phrase, and just memorize it, and then just say it over and over again. Like, you know, I can do some examples when I move toward the scripts in a bit with this, but just say it over and over and over again until you say it so many times that it's truly in a way that you would say it if you were interacting with someone you know. It'll really help it lose that red quality. So I'll show you guys how that exercise works here in a second. So, and also, no one's going to say in a script like, sigh here, clear your throat there, stutter into line here. You know, that's why we're the voice actors. We are literally taking someone's written word on a page, and we are literally infusing life into this performance with our voices, because we're using our creativity and our acting chops and our sensibilities of just being real people. That's what we're infusing into our performances. So just remember what our role is as the voice actor is we have to bring that art of nuance. We have to bring that art of humanization and real human sound effects and real qualities of the way that we speak into our performances, okay? And here's a couple of more ideas for you guys. How to set up your performance by posing a question. Sometimes if a script starts with a question, I like to say something like, hey, did you know? Or guess what? Have you heard? Hey, you know what? And those types of things help me kind of springboard in, like, let me ask you a question. And then I pose the question that's in the script. And that really helps really set up the question asking. The next one would be, you know, a short attitude phrase that you can use to bounce into your scripts. So many of the things I book have that girlfriend vibe, like, hey girl, like, look, or check it out, listen. Okay. You know, okay is one of my favorite go-tos because I say that a lot in real life. I'm like, okay, I got to tell you something really amazing. This lip gloss is thebomb.com, you know, and that's just how I talk. So I use that type of thing a lot for my little phrases. Another suggestion that I want to share, if you do like to use leads or lead-ins or unscripted lines or phrases in the beginning of your performances, don't use the same one over and over and over and over again. Don't forget, we're creatives, and in order to create and have performances come out of us in a real fresh, off the cuff way, we have to keep our little bounce-in phrases also fresh. So if you keep saying, hey, hey, and then doing the line, it's not doing you any favors. That's not going to help the read in any way. But if you're posing different questions or you're playing around with different little phrases as you're working into the copy, then that is going to bring a different result. So just keep that in mind too when you're playing around with all of this. And then body language, that's a huge one, you guys. I definitely play around with, if I'm talking to a little kid, if it's a, some kind of a product or service or brand that the audience is kids, I will go as far as to taking my microphone stand, bringing it way down, and I will literally crouch down as though I'm talking to one of my nieces, one of my toddler nieces. My facial expressions will change. My proximity to the mic is going to change. And I really get into that moment of talking to that cute little toddler, that cute little adorable, well-behaved human. So there's that. If you're talking with a friend, how would you stand if you were talking to one of your best friends? What's your body language look like? I shrug my shoulders a lot when I'm trying to make something sound really casual or like not like a big deal, right? It's no big deal. It's no big deal. This thing's cool. You ought to check it out. This is a really big body language that I go to a lot. Another one is, I call it the one hip pop stance. That's just kind of where you're kind of casual and you kind of got one hip popped out a little bit. Y'all know the one where you're just kind of chilling. That's a real casual stance to operate from. If you want your sound to be casual, your body language has to also be very casual. Some of you might like to sit down when you read. I personally prefer to stand when I do my script reading, but if it helps you feel more relaxed and casual, sit down, do whatever feels good for you. Another one is just hand in pocket. Do you like to put your hand in your front pocket when you're chilling and talking to somebody? Do you tend to put both your hands in your back pockets? Some people might disagree that keeping your hands in your pockets will make you feel too constricted when you're performing. It really just depends on your personality, and it really depends on the moment of the script that you're performing. So your body language and your tendencies best. Be comfortable, do whatever you have to do to access keeping it real. So that is a lot of what I wanted to share as far as like overall tips and tricks. I hope I was able to shoehorn a lot of helpful stuff in there for you guys in 30 minutes. I had so much more I wanted to say, but I was
the chat was going crazy. Everyone was loving it. I think those were some amazing, amazing tips there. So really, really happy to hear that. And then looks like we're heading into the scripts there. So first, let me give a little round of applause, introduction to David here, who has volunteered to help Melissa out with some of the scripts here. So David, thank you very much. We really greatly appreciate it. And I'm going to actually give you access here. If you want to hop on, you should be able to do so now. David, you there?
Hello.
How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
I am doing really well. Loving being here with everybody today.
That was a lot of it was a career of fantastic hints and tips, but sweet Jesus, I mean, what was that 35 minutes you managed to cram 21 years into?
I always want to over service, guys. It's like that is like my nature, people pleaser, totally to the nth degree. But I just anytime anyone asks me for help, it's like I'm just like, here are all the things.
Here are all the things. That was all the things. It felt like that was all the things.
With some of the things, I really have a lot more to say. But you know what, guys? I know that we can all only retain and absorb and so many ideas at once. So we'll let that stuff marinate a little bit today. But awesome. Thank you, David, for hanging out. And I wasn't familiar with like your voice type or your background or anything like that. But I'm looking through some of these scripts here, and I don't know if any of these are speaking to you, but I've got let's see here. Clearasil, Johnson & Johnson, Purina One. There's so many different. I don't know if are you an animal lover?
I'm not anti-animal.
Yeah.
So let's say what's Lucky BB on?
That I think that's more for like a maybe
Right,
like
yeah.
a teen vibe or a early 20 something kind of a vibe. Maybe
Listerine. I use Listerine. Let's do
all right,
Listerine.
Listerine's cool. I think that could work for you.
It's not cool, but it's necessary sometimes.
Hey, maybe Listerine is cool. We're about to make Listerine cool. Okay.
Just about to say, you're going to make it cool.
So
Fair enough.
This is an example of a script where it's so short, and sometimes talent go, oh, it's so short, it's going to be so easy because it's so short. And honestly, in my opinion, sometimes the shorter the script, the trickier the script, right? So before we do anything, just take a look at it for a second, and then
not saying it out loud.
I would love to hear just your off the cuff read on it.
So I'm picturing myself with someone, probably a teenager. Look, brushing alone leaves behind over 1 million. Brushing alone leaves behind over 1 million germs. Listerine kills 99% of them. 99% of them. Yeah. Finish strong.
Good.
Oh, I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah, well,
I want to change it back to the charms now.
Well, I'll tell you what, before I give you any notes, that was just your warm-up take, and I'm just taking it all in, right? So go ahead and give me one more read before I give you any feedback.
Look, brushing alone leaves behind over 1 million germs. Look, brushing alone leaves behind over 1 million germs. Listerine kills 99% of them. Yeah, finish strong.
Good. So much good stuff going on in there. And I can definitely see you thinking. And voice actors, we think first, we feel second, we voice third. So oftentimes, some voice actors, they worry so much about what the script is going to sound like. They don't put as much time and emphasis on what the thinking, the script analysis looks like, and then what we want the audience to feel. Because I feel like if you do these two things first and you honor those two things, the voice is going to definitely know where to take you. Now,
I hear I'm hearing myself, and I'm thinking, well, that's not believable. Then I'm going back and making it even less believable.
There are parts of it that actually are very believable, but I just want to kind of toy with some thoughts with you for a second. So on this Listerine first line here, let's just think about that for a second. Think about brushing your teeth and then knowing the fact that there are over 1 million germs that are still left behind. How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel?
Well, concerned. I mean, I need to sort it out.
It makes me grossed out.
I need to fix this problem. Yes.
Like, to me, it's like, oh, so
I thought I was giving advice to someone, but perhaps I'm being surprised. Perhaps I'm being shocked by it myself.
I was a little sneaky here by not putting any direction in to, or any specs into the script for you, so we could trust our gut, right? There are a few different ways we could play it. You could be more like, hey, fact, brushing alone leaves behind over 1 million germs. Just saying the word fact could set it up in that way. Now look at how much the read changes when we make the little phrase behind it. Ew. Yeah. Gross.
Yes,
Brushing
it does.
Alone leaves behind over 1 million germs. I loved how you were leaning into million. That's a really important point to lean into. And I didn't think you overemphasized it a lot or too much. But the point here is then the next line is the payoff. Well, Listerine that's the solution, right?
That's the
problem, solution, all conversationally written. So just for fun, let's try one where you're like, yuck, give me some kind of a judgment for the open.
Okay. It's all about me this time. It's all about my concern for my own mouth. Brushing alone leaves behind over 1 million germs. Listerine kills 99% of them. Gargle. Yeah. Finish strong.
Good. So I like where you're going. Try one now, though, where do an out loud little
Right.
unscripted line or phrase. This is another point that I want to drive home for everybody who's hanging
Sure.
out today. A lot of times we think them and we internalize our little, springboard phrase,
Sure.
but so much more magic happens when we do it out loud. So try a yuck or gross or whatever feels natural where
Sure.
you're like, or really? It could
Yeah.
even be that question. Just try something else.
Oh my, really? You're joking. Brushing alone leaves behind over 1 million germs. Listerine kills 99% of them. Yeah, finish strong.
So I liked what you did a lot with the first line.
First line, and then it didn't work with the rest.
But then we forgot the payoff on the Listerine. So we want to have two distinct feelings happening here. The first one is we're identifying a problem. Then the client comes in, and what they do is the solution, right?
Sure.
And then the end is that final wrap up thought where you're like, yeah. And a clue, let me tell you about a few of the clues that the writer left for us here, is they could have said Listerine kills 99% of them, but they relaxed the writing, which is a clue to us as the voice actor that Listerine kills 99% of them, right? Do you guys hear the difference? And then, finish strong, So this to me is the not quite the Holy Jeans read, but this to me is that slightly.
I think what I'm finding is my being surprised by the first line, but apparently I already know the answer, the second line. So I think there's a kind of a bit of this softening.
Yeah. So let's try this really quick. Another exercise that I talked about earlier, which is I want to just work on the first line by itself. Okay. I just want to do 3 in a row of the first line. And I just want you to, each time you massage that line vocally as you say it, just think about how you might say that. Just like, wow, you can, whatever approach works for you, but just that line only 3 in a row.
Oh, brushing alone leaves. See, what happened there was I was so in character, I took my glasses off. Now I can't see the bloody screen. Hang on a second. Brushing alone leaves behind over 1 million germs. Brushing alone leaves behind over 1 million germs. Brushing alone leaves behind over 1 million germs.
Good. I liked 2 the most, and I also liked 3. Now let's switch the thought process. So now it's like food for thought, listener. Did you know? And now tell me what the good news is.
Listerine. Well, hang on. I'm still on the first line, am I?
3 in a row. We're going to go with the second line, 3 in a row.
Second line, 3 in a row. Listerine kills 99% of them. I can't say M. Listerine kills 99% of them. Oh, crikey. Listerine kills 99% of them.
Good. Now go to the last line and more of a shoulder shrug, like,
yeah. Finish strong. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Listerine kills 99%. Yeah. Finish strong. No, I can't think. Finish strong.
I like where you're going. See, we're feeling so much more just realness, more personality. You're thinking more about your perspective. And guys, as a voice actor reading a script conversationally, we have to have a perspective, right? We have to bring, that's what makes it real, is that we're a real person talking to other real people. So we got to keep it real. So now we've been thinking about a couple of different techniques, and you're doing a great job, by the way. I'm hearing definite evolution, even, just in those little sets of 3. Now let's just go back to the top and let's read the whole script one more time and just relax into it.
Sure. Oh, brushing alone leaves behind over 1 million germs. Listerine kills 99% of them. Yeah, Finish strong.
So, heck yeah, you guys, please, let's show some love to David Holmes because they're seriously, you know, to me, that was like such a great just example of the art of subtlety. It's sometimes as voice actors, we want to do so much to a read, right? It's like, I am an actor and I shall act. Let me show you all of my moves. But it's really just kind of working through the copy in that less is more way, but just bringing those aspects across that are more real. And in my brain, kind of the way I'm interpreting this script, and there's so many ways that all of us can, approach this. It's, brushing alone leaves behind over 1 million germs, like gross. Listerine kills 99% of them. Yeah. Finish strong, or it could also be really straight. It could be a very authoritative read. Fact, brushing alone leaves behind over 1 million germs. Listerine kills 99% of them. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right in that. And that, yeah, I was thinking I feel better. I haven't had my Listerine, but maybe actually my mind's gone blank. But yes, it's like making a decision. Shall I? Shan't I? I think I will.
But here's the thing. Yeah. I love what you just said. It is our responsibility as voice actors to make some decisions. Sometimes we're hesitant to commit to making a decision because when we're auditioning, we're like, oh, I hope we understand what they meant. I hope that they pick me. I hope that they liked my interpretation. I hope this is what they meant. You guys, we got to throw all that out the window when we're auditioning. We are creators, we are creatives, and we're working with other creatives. We have to honor our true interpretation. Sometimes we're going to be just what they're looking for. Other times they might appreciate our talent and our interpretation, but it might not be what's on the menu today. It's like, yes, I like this, but this is the other thing. It's about selection. It's not about rejection. And when you're auditioning too, voice acting is not about who's better than who. It's really all about a creative, whoever is casting this particular, project. They have something in their mind, a voice type, an interpretation, or I think this is more often the case than not, they don't know what the heck they want until it shows up and they hear it. And they're like, ooh, that was an interesting choice. Didn't think of that perspective. That really worked. So we have to bring the goods. We have to make a decision. You said the word decision, and it really triggered this for me, is we have to decide and we have to put it out there. And we also have to detach ourselves from the outcome. I feel that you can't be a creative and a critic at the same time when you're auditioning and when you're crafting your reads. It's very important that you leave one of them outside of your booth. And I recommend leaving your critic outside of your booth and just letting your creative go in there and just make those decisions based on what feels right and how you can most authentically connect and tell that story. And be detached by the outcome. I am never worrying when I'm auditioning if I'm good enough. I'm never worrying when I'm auditioning if the client is going to like me, if they're going to pick me. I can't do that, or I'm not going to be able to give my best performance. So when I'm in there and I'm auditioning, I'm like, hey, I'm Melissa Moats, and I'm going to let all my Melissa Moats hang out. And this is what it is. This is the way I'm reading your story. This is the way that it's the most real to me. And then I give that performance. And if I think of 3 or 4 different ways to be me and to approach that copy and tell that story in 3 or 4 different ways, heck yeah, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to send all those takes. Right. So I hope some of this that we are playing around with helped a little bit, David.
That was excellent. It was really incredibly helpful. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. It's nice to meet you.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you so much for joining, David. I know that's the big task, hopping in front of everybody to doing that. And so really, really thank you. I saw some love through the chat there. So definitely thanks for hopping up and great job. I love to see the progression there through the reads.
Thank you.
Yeah, and believe me, it was in there, and you're thinking. And guys, as voice actors, that's really our biggest responsibility, is to think and to feel and then to voice, and in that order, in my humble opinion. And I always say, you know, I remain a humble student of my craft and of this craft, and I love voice acting so much, and it's truly my deepest passion. And I also enjoy helping other voice actors find their magic and find their mojo and get out of their own head and get out of their own way, because it's a head game. It really is. And we're always looking for validation, and we're always hoping we're doing it right. But you are doing it right. The more you just allow yourself to show up and be yourself, the better your performances are going to be. So I wanted to point out just a couple quick things really quick, if I'm okay on time, Kyle. If
Yeah,
it's
for
okay,
sure. We'll hop
down.
into the Q&A just after.
Yeah, I'm also fine if we go over a little bit, if anybody wants to hang out a few minutes longer, because I get excited, and I'm sorry, not sorry. But I was just gonna point out for any of you who want to look at these scripts and practice at home, a couple of things like Clearasil, just a quick tip. So fix breakouts fast, you know. There's urgency in that line, and you know, you want to think about who our audience would be for this. Clearasil, you know, it seems like teens and young adults tend to struggle with acne more than others. So that would help me identify my audience. And then I might think of one of my nieces or nephews in their teen years and talk to them like, yep, got a zit. I know. Fix breakouts fast with Clearasil Ultra, you know. It starts working instantly. I always like to emphasize instantly, because that means it's going to happen quick, right? I'm just reiterating the point. Fast, instantly, 12 hours, all of those things. And then it's fast. Those are clues in the copy from the writer, that the thing that they want to drive home the most is that Clearasil fixes the problem quickly, and driving that read with urgency, and then also the relatability of talking maybe to a teen or a young adult in the tone that you select. It's a real helpful thought process. And then real quick, in contrast to that, I'm going to talk about Johnson & Johnson, and then I'm handing it back to you, Kyle, for some Q&A. But Johnson & Johnson, like, look at how beautifully written and short and situational this little script is, which is, she's soaking up sounds and scents because she's the biggest sponge of all. Johnson & Johnson, the power of gentle. Quick script analysis. What's happening in this moment? Johnson & Johnson. It could be applying lotion to a baby's body, a little tiny, you know, 3-month-old. It could be giving a baby her first bath. It's a real delicate moment, maybe between a mom and baby, or dad and baby. And the idea here that I'm getting as the voice actor is, this is a very delicate, tender read. This scene in my mind is very gentle and very loving. So the deciding factors for me as the voice actor would be leaning in very close to the mic, softer projection, and thinking of, yeah, she's soaking up sounds and scents because she's the biggest sponge of all. Johnson & Johnson, the power of gentle. And that's just my heart talking right there. That is me in that moment, feeling the feels, seeing a story in my mind. And I might do that read 3 or 4 times and just put my hands on my heart. Really picture the moment. Have little nuances I do in front of or in back of the script to just really let me feel and really let me pull from real life experiences or real life feelings and bring those into the read. So those are 2 very different read styles, 2 very different examples, and I surely hope that they're helpful for all of you. So, all right, I'm going to calm down. I'm going to let you talk, Kyle.
I'm really happy that you worked in, you know, a little dissection on both those scripts. I think it was really powerful in driving home some of the techniques and tips there. So without any further ado, we'll hop over to the Q&A. I know we've had lots of chatter from the attendees there, from all you amazing talent there. So if you guys have any questions for Melissa, feel free to hop on down to the Q&A section. I'll try to get to as many as we can. And any ones that we don't get to, we'll say it twice so that way if anyone misses. Melissa, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I will just quickly show you guys this, and my screen share is still open just for one more moment. If any of you are interested, just for the heck of it, to hear any of my voiceover work, I have a personal voiceover page, which is ladyluckvoiceovers.com. You can also find my personal voiceover website with my name, which is melissamoats.com, and this will take you to my website. I have a gallery of my work and demos, etc. And then if any of you are interested, I am the founder of the Voice Actor Studio in Las Vegas, Nevada, here in the States. And if you're ever in town in Las Vegas for some fun, we have about 40 different workshops happening every month in our studio. A lot of people love to come in and visit us and see us in person and take a class in person, but we now have every single workshop that we offer also happening virtually, and we coach in performance, productivity, business, tech, home studio. So all of our information is on our website. This is a little picture of the inside of our studio here in Las Vegas. And our website is thevoiceactorstudio.com. And then you can also email us at info@thevoiceactorstudio.com if any of you need any help with anything, or have more questions. I welcome any questions. So there you have it. There's just that little bit. I almost forgot to mention it.
There we go. All right. So to hop into some questions here.
Yes.
Let's see. All right. So, sorry, I've got to. Alrighty. So with so many dissections that you do before delivering your read, how long does it take you realistically to do, say, a single audition?
It's a good question. It depends. Part of it depends on, I think if you're a newer talent, the process is going to take a little longer than I'm about to suggest. But for someone who's been doing auditioning and booking work for a while, I wouldn't spend any more than about 15 minutes on any individual audition from start to finish, from interpreting the copy, making those decisions, laying down 3 or 4 takes, then coming out, listening back to the audio, trusting your gut also on the audition you select, and then editing it, cleaning it up, and then sending it in. So really, again, it goes back to that trusting your instincts. We overthink when we're making performance choices, and we can also overthink when we're deciding which one to send in. So just trust your gut and try to step outside of yourself and listen to your read and go, yep, I believe that one. If you believe it, the listener will too. So 15 minutes, try to keep it tight.
I definitely agree, especially when, as much as, we want to put so much care into every audition, it is a bit of a numbers game. So manage your workflow. It's going to help you in the long run. And it will give you a chance to go after more opportunities.
Yes, I agree with that too.
Yeah. So how do you warm up before recording? Is it the same routine every time, or are you spontaneous in how you kind of get your day started?
Yeah, it's a great question. No 2 days are the same. I think our energy really fluctuates day to day, for all of us. So some days I will be feeling super feisty and I'll just hop right in there and just start playing, whereas other days I'm a little more tired, or my voice needs a little bit of extra TLC and I do more vocal warm-ups. I just really trust the energy that I'm feeling each day and just get a sense of what I need and follow suit. So I do recommend warming up your voice though, and in your face, warming up all of your muscles in your face and going from there. So hopefully that helps.
Definitely. I've got a question here. I'm going to kind of fuse 2 questions together because I think they're pretty similar. I know now you spend a lot of your time coaching. In regards to auditions, what would you have set, or do you set as a benchmark for yourself? And how much time do you typically spend doing auditions? Let's say if you were full-time auditioning, not coaching, what would be kind of
I'm kind of a wild and crazy gal, and I'm full-time voice acting and coaching. So I work about 12 hours every day. So I still work, my workload is still that of a full-time voice actor. And I mentor and coach as much as I possibly can, outside of that. So for me, I always try to get in at least a good 20 to 30 auditions every day. That's my personal goal. But I'm
Amazing.
also not a person who really overthinks my auditions. I will trust. I usually will do 2 takes pretty much for every audition I do. And again, detached. And I say to myself, this is my vibe. This is the way I would say it. This is the way I would interpret it. So take it or leave it, And I don't say that in a cocky way. I think you guys all catch my vibe, but it's more just like, this is the way I would do it. And so I'm able to really work through a lot of copy. But one other point that I want to make is I don't have a set time, like I audition from this time to this time. I get waves of energy throughout the day. So I will do a round of auditions, usually in groups of 10. So I'll do maybe like 10 auditions in the morning, 10 auditions again in the afternoon. And then maybe late in the day, I'll do another, round of 10 auditions, based on when I'm feeling great. And then keep in mind, I also have sessions, scheduled directed sessions with clients, unsupervised work I'm doing in between there. And then I tend to, students and coaching and things most of the time after regular business hours and on the weekends. So that's kind of how I manage all of that. But it's our job to audition. You have to show up and you have to audition. It's how you get better and it's how you book more work.
So true. So true. And 12-hour days. VO superhero.
Thank you. I drink a lot of coffee. I'm not kidding. But I love it. When you love what you do, it time kind of stands still. And I love to coach and I love to voice act. So for me, it's a labor of love. So it's honestly, I feel lucky. So
amazing. I've got one from Jennifer here. Do you record with your headphones off, or do you typically do it with them on?
Okay, I wear my headphones almost always. It's so tough for me. I feel like a fish out of water when I take them off. And so many great coaches out there recommend, read for a more conversational read, take your headphones off. Well, I take my headphones off and I don't know how to do anything. I don't know how to read. I don't know how to talk. So I need them on. But it is true that if you tend to be more announcery and more overworking your copy, taking your headphones off will help you feel more often than not, more just like your real self, like you're really talking to somebody. So it's a good technique to certainly try. It's not one that works well for me.
I think I saw, was that Louise? He definitely agrees. So
it's hard. It's like I like to hear myself under a microscope. That's what it's like when you have your headphones on. And I feel like I'm more aware of what I'm doing when I'm listening to them. But some people are more distracted by their performances when they're hearing them that way. Yeah. So it just depends on the person.
Preference. Yeah. So I've got one here from Ray. He's wondering, does he have to worry about how he enunciates the words? Because he's actually from the South. Do you think he should just kind of lean in, that's who he is, and go for it? Or do you think he should be watching that enunciation? And
I love that question too. So that's what's so awesome about voiceover right now, is just that, they're looking for real people from real places that have real perspectives. It's all about keeping it real. And so, oftentimes they may have neutral in their casting spec, but then you show up with maybe a little bit of a light Southern drawl or something in your performance, and all of a sudden they're like, wow, that's really magical. That really works. That really connects with our audience in a way we didn't even think of, or whatever. So I've always known through my 21 years of voice acting that the more neutral your dialect can be, the more opportunities that you can align yourself with. So if you can, acknowledge that point. That's an important thing to consider. But I do think leaning into who you are, please do that, because I think you'll find yourself being able to keep it real more in your performances if you do so.
I think it comes back to kind of, again, where in your dissection, it's, who's your audience, right? So I think that will play a very large part in, how you're watching that enunciation, or if you're leaning into that.
Yeah, there's so many little variables to consider. I mean, if they say, neutral only, and, or they have a very specific thing they're looking for, you might not be considered, but at least you can do that audition and honor what feels right to you. And sometimes you'll surprise yourself. Sometimes the casting spec may change based on a great performance that they receive that they didn't see coming. So
totally
there's
true.
that.
Very, very true. Alrighty. Last question. I know we've asked it, just to remind everybody, and for anybody that didn't get it before, Melissa, any questions that we didn't get to today? Are they okay to reach out to you personally? And if so, what's the email address to send it to?
Yeah, you guys, you're super welcome to reach out to me. I always say this, bear with me. I'm not always fast to respond to every email I get from every student, because as I mentioned, I'm voice acting during the day, but I'm always thorough, and I will always get back to your email and your question. Please invite I'm inviting you to reach out at info@thevoiceactorstudio.com. And then the last thing I wanted to throw in too is that I do offer free Zoom events. Ask Melissa anything. So we just did one yesterday, as a matter of fact, and keep an eye out. We post on social, or if you get on our mailing list, we do a lot of free Zoom events where you can ask a ton of questions. We usually go for like 2 hours. So I'd love to meet y'all, and come on over and say hi anytime.
Oh, geez. Well, with that, I'll leave us there, and just a massive thank you to yourself, Melissa, for doing this with us. We've chatted many times over the years, so it was really great to be able to kind of connect as close to face as possible.
Thank you.
And,
well, thanks for having me. I had a blast, and I hope everybody at least took away one nugget that might help empower them with their performances. And guys, just go out there and be yourself. You're the magic sauce. You're the special sauce, and that's what's going to get you booked.
Couldn't agree more. So thank you, everybody that joined us today. Really appreciate it. Like I said, this will be sent to anybody who registered, so you guys can keep an eye out for that. And until next time, have a fantastic day. And again, just thank you so much, Melissa.
Thank you. You guys all have an awesome day.
All
Get
right,
your booth, go audition. Woohoo!
All right, see you guys.